We got some quadratic equations over here that are in their standard form, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to convert these standard form quadratic equations into their vertex form and into their root forms. So let's get straight into it and look at this example number A that we got, the first example, which says 4x squared minus 24x plus p, and this is a quadratic equation. We can clearly see it's in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. We don't have a c over here, we were just given some value p. Okay, and then we continue to read the sentence which says convert to the form a bracket x plus b bracket squared plus c and give the answer in terms of p. So this convert, we need to convert this. We need to convert this to the form this, right? And this, we know this as the vertex form. And we need to give the answer in terms of that p that we initially had in our quadratic equation that they've given us. So see, most students, what they do is they just look at this p, they look at this thing right over here, and they just freak out, and then they look at in terms of p, what does that mean, and that they just start to freak out. Don't freak out, okay? You know that this is you need to convert one quadratic equation that is in the standard form to this vertex form. Just focus on that, okay? Don't focus on all of this other stuff. That's just going to worry you more. So what you got over here is you got 4x squared minus 24x plus b. This is in its standard form, and we're trying to convert this into its vertex form. So we can clearly see that this x squared has a coefficient, so we're going to get rid of that coefficient first. We're going to take it common, so if we take 4 out as common, we're going to be left with x squared minus, this is going to be, I believe, 6x, and then we cannot really take common out of, we cannot take 4 common out of p, so we're just going to leave it like this. Okay, now what we want to do is, we know our next step. What we got is we got this middle term over here. We're trying to divide this by 2. So this is going to be 6 divided by 2. That equals to 3. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to write all of this over here, and we are going to leave some space in the middle, and we are going to use that space for basically putting in this 3 that we got. So we're going to put that 3, we're going to say plus 3 squared, and we're just going to say minus 3 squared, right? These are just the simple steps that we learned in the previous video. Now what we're going to do is we're going to write these brackets down here again, but we're instead going to make two round brackets inside of this square bracket, and we're going to put a square on that, and then we are going to close all of this. Now we know that all of this thing right over here, these two terms, they basically pop in right over here. So this is in fact going to be p over 4 minus 3 times 3 squares is going to be 9, so minus 9. Okay, now this is all of this, and then we're going to have all of these terms are basically going to pop inside of this round bracket. So we're going to take the x over here, going to take the sign from the middle term, and we're going to take this thing right over here. So this is going to be x minus 3. Okay, and then all we got to do is, once we have this, now we're just going to multiply the 4. So this is going to be 4x minus 3 squared, and then we just multiply all of this with 4. So this is just going to be p minus 4 times 9, I believe that is 36. Yeah, that is 36. So this thing right over here is finally in our form a x plus b whole squared plus c. Now what is c, you may ask? All of this right over here is c. What is b, you may ask? Well, all of this over here is b. And what is a, you may ask? Well, this right here is your a. And of course we have the answer in terms of p, because the answer does include the variable p. That's all you had to do, nothing more. So we're going to move on to the next problem, problem number b. And it says that we have a quadratic equation, and we need to convert it to the form bracket x plus p squared plus q. Now this, in fact, right over here is also your vertex form. All they've done is they've instead of having your x plus b and x plus c, all they've done is replace those b's and c's with p and q. And you're going to be like, well, why don't they have an a over here then? Well, the reason they don't have an a over here is because you're just going to find out why they don't have an a in a second. I'm going to solve this, and you're going to find out why they don't have an a. So this is, they still want us to convert this quadratic equation into its standard form. Nothing too complicated. Okay, don't look at these weird forms and scare yourself and try to confuse yourself. Just you know, do what you've learned, and that is how to convert a quadratic equation into its vertex form. That's all we're going to do. So we don't have any we don't have a coefficient over here. In fact, it's 1, but we know that that's okay. A 1 isn't really a problem, so we can just get on to solving this. So we got this middle term 8 over here, and we're trying to divide that by 2. And so we divide that 8 by 2, and we're going to get 4. Okay, so we're just going to write all of this over here, but with some space in the middle, and we're going to input that 4 that we found in our first step over here. So it's going to be plus 4 squared minus 4 squared, and then all we got to do is these, we're gonna make these two round brackets over here, put a square on top. All of these terms are going to drop over here. So this is going to be, let me just do this for you guys. This is going to be minus 4 squared plus 11. That is equal to negative 5. And then you put the x in here, take the sign from this middle term, and put the 4 in here. And that right there is basically it's in your vertex form now. And you can see that this is in the form a is equal to x plus b plus c. And now the reason you didn't have an a up there in the problem, if you look at the problem over here, you didn't have an a or a term on this side of the bracket. And the reason that happened is because we know it's just going to be 1. So there is no specific term. A is just 1. And then the reason they didn't tell you that is because, well, in the previous problem, if you look at problem number A had that 4 with this x squared, whereas problem number B had nothing with this x squared. So they just knew that when you're going to convert this into your vertex form, you're not going to have anything over here. It's just going to be 1, and we don't even write 1, so it'll be as if there is no a in the vertex form. That's why they didn't tell you. That's why there wasn't an a present in the problem statement. But that really doesn't matter. Point is, we're just converting this to the vertex form. The a's, b's, p's, and q's, they don't really matter. We just see the problem and we do as we're told. So look at problem number C, and it says that we're supposed to convert this quadratic equation into the standard form as well, into the vertex form as well, so we're just going to do that. This is going to be 3x squared minus 12x plus 7, and we can clearly see that we have a coefficient, so let's take that common. This is going to be x squared minus, this is going to be 4x plus, we can't really take 3 common out of 7, so this is just going to be 7 divided by 3, right? And now we divide this middle number by 2, that's just going to be 2. So we are going to put our 2 brackets in here, put a square on top of that, and we are going to have, wait, no, actually we're not going to do that yet, my bad. We're going to put this x squared, then minus 4x, leave some space in the middle, and then this is going to be, we're going to add those 2's that we got up there into this space, so it's going to be plus 2 squared minus 2 squared. Okay, and then we are going to create those round brackets, put a square on top of them. Now all of this, we're going to drop this in here. So this is just going to be, let me just do this out for you guys. So this is negative 2 squared plus 7 divided by 3. So this is actually negative 5 by 3. Close the bracket. So we're going to take the x, we're going to take that sign, we're going to take this 2, and this is all we have, and we multiply the 3 inside, so we're just going to be left with 3x minus 2 whole squared and then minus 5. Okay, this is our problem, and we have completed it. So moving on to part D, and in part D, we actually have something weird going on. So again, this right here is a vertex form. It's a different type of vertex form, like this P's and Q's and all of these weird forms, and this is also a vertex form. You can clearly see it looks like a vertex form. Now what they've done over here is they've actually, so in the normal vertex form would maybe look something like this. So it would look something like this, x plus b whole squared, and then we have a plus C. So what they've done is they've removed this. They didn't write an A over here, okay? And instead, so what they did was they converted this B into an A. Instead of this B, they wrote an A. And instead of that C, they wrote a B. And then they ended up getting a 2 over here. Now that's not the point. We're not really concerned with what they did or didn't do. We look at the problem. We know it looks similar to the vertex form. That's what we're going to convert it into. And what we have to do is we have to somehow get this 2 inside of this. We're going to have to get this 2 with this x somehow. That's what we're going to do. So again, as simple as before, we got this standard form quadratic equation, 4x squared minus 12x, and we have to convert this into its standard form, into its vertex form. So how do we do that? Well, we need to get that 2 into the final answer somehow. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. So I believe one thing I can do. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. So I do actually have an idea. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna write it like this. So we're gonna write this 4 like this. So this is going to be 2. And so 2 squared is equal to 4, right? So all I did is I'm substituting the 4 with this 2 squared. Okay, and so I have my x squared over here, and then I have my minus 12x, and I don't have a c, so I can kind of write a 0 over here. I don't really have to, but that's what I'm doing. Now what I have to do is I'm going to write this like this. So if you have a squared multiplied by b squared, you can basically go ahead and write them as ab whole squared, okay? And that's exactly what I'm going to do over here. So I'm going to get 2 in my x, and then I'm going to write them as a whole squared. And then I'm basically going to have my minus 12x plus 0 over here. I don't even have to write the 0. I'm not even concerned with that, but anyway. So I'm supposed to convert it to my standard, into my vertex form. So I have this central term. I'm going to divide that by 2. 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. So we are going to have our 2x squared minus 12x, put the 0 over here, have the plus 6 squared, and then the minus 6 squared. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set this up so it's going to be 2 brackets with a squared. Now this thing right over here, we're going to pop these 2 terms outside of the bracket. So this is just going to be minus 6 times 6. I believe that is 36 if I'm not wrong. So let me just do that. Yeah, that's 36. Okay, and then we take this 2x into this part, take that minus sign into this part, take that 6 into this part, and that's how we solve this problem. So you can actually see that it's almost similar to this version that they gave us of the vertex form, which was 2x plus a squared plus b. And you can see I definitely have the 2 with that x over there. And my a is equal to negative 6 and my b is equal to negative 36. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. Now, I haven't really explained this in a previous video, but some of you may be like, well, how is this b equal to that negative 36? Over here, b has a positive sign, but that negative 36 has a negative sign. Try looking at it like this. So this thing right over here, I can basically write this answer as this. So this is 2x minus 6 whole squared plus minus 36, right? I can write it like this. So now if I write the version they gave us, which is 2x plus a squared plus b, now maybe you understand that, oh, the b is actually negative 36. So the signs, they don't really matter. Do part number E, and it says 4x squared minus 16 in the form, and so now this is clearly the root form. We clearly can identify this as the root form. Now, even though all of these forms were different, you can clearly see they look really similar to the vertex form. Whereas this form right over here, this looks nothing like these forms above. In fact, it has those two brackets, which are special to the root form. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write my equation 4x squared minus 16. And of course, I don't have a b term over here. I have ax squared plus bx plus c. I have a c. I have an a. I don't have a b term, so I can sort of write this as 4x squared plus 0x minus 16. Right? I can sort of write it like that. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to in the form where you can clearly see that the form they gave us in the problem, that right over there, it has an a. So that we have these two brackets, and then there's an a outside of these brackets. So that actually, that having that a and not having that a basically means that you're supposed to take this this a term that we have common or not. Now you can actually go to problem number B over here, and problem number B didn't have an a over here, and the reason was because there was no coefficient with the x squared term, and so you wouldn't have an a when you would convert this equation into its vertex form. That's why they didn't put an a in here, and now they're putting an a in this part number E. If you come over here to part number E, they're actually putting an a over here. So what does that a even mean? That basically means that you're supposed to take this 4 common, and then you're supposed to make this x squared minus 16, you're supposed to make the brackets out of this x squared minus 16 term, and you're supposed to take that 4 right over there common. And that 4 is going to become your a. I'm just going to show you guys how that works. So what we're going to do is we're just going to multiply, or actually I'm going to take that 4 common. So if I take that 4 common, I'm left with x squared plus, you can't take 4 common out of 0, so it's just going to be this thing. And anything 0 divided by anything is just 0, so I can write my 0 over here. Whoops. I can write my 0 over here. And then you can take 4 common out of 16. It's just going to be 4. And now what I have to do is I basically have to factorize this entire thing. So the coefficient over here is now 1. You multiply 1 with negative 4. That is equal to negative 4. Now, you're supposed to find two numbers that when they multiply, they're going to give you negative 4. But when they add up, they give you this b term or this 0. So those two numbers can be 2 and negative 2. So you multiply 2 with negative 2, you get negative 4. And then when you add positive 2 into negative 2, you get 0. So this is just going to be 4x squared plus 2x minus 4. And then you can basically factorize this inner term. And this is just going to be x plus 2. And this is going to be minus 2. So you're going to have x plus 2 in there. And then you can sort of write them like this, x plus 2 and x minus 2. And then that 4 is going to multiply. So it's going to be 4 x plus 2, x minus 2. And you can see how that 4 has become my a. And this is x plus b, and this is x plus c. Now, if I hadn't taken that 4 common from this equation, what would have happened is that 4, it basically would have not stayed outside. It would basically be inside of these brackets in here. And so I wouldn't get this a outside. I wouldn't get this 4 outside, as they told me in the problem statement. I wouldn't get the same form. So I'm trying to get that same form as well. Now, there was actually another way you can do this question, and I'm going to show you guys what that other way is. It's way simpler and way easier than doing all of this. So if you take 4 out common, you basically realize you're left with x squared minus 4, right? And I'm going to ignore the b term. I'm not going to write the b term for now. So that 0x that I had written before, I'm not going to write that now. And what you need to realize is that this is basically, you can sort of see this as x squared minus 2 squared, because 2 squared is basically 4, so I'm substituting 4 with this thing right over here. And what you can see is this is a squared minus b squared, which we know is basically a plus b, a minus b. So this is going to be x plus 2, x minus 2, and then you multiply the 4 inside, so it's just going to become this thing. And you have the same answer as before, but with way less working. So you can also do that if you're smart enough. But anyways, moving on to the next problem. And it says we got a quadratic equation. Now they need it in this form, x plus p and x plus q. And again, you can see they didn't mention an a over here. And this p and q, they're nothing but b's and c's. Okay, so don't worry about that. And there's no a over here. And see, the reason that we don't have an a is because we don't have a coefficient with x over here. So obviously, we can't take anything common. And so you're not going to have like anything common that's going to be multiplying with this entire thing at the end. So that's why they didn't give us an a in this problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and convert this quadratic equation that we have, x squared minus 6x plus 8, to our root form, or our factorized form. And simply that's just going to be, we're just going to factorize this. So this is 1 right over here. We're going to multiply 1 with this 8, this positive 8. That's just going to be 8. Now we're trying to find two numbers that are going to multiply to 8, and they're going to add to negative 6. And those two numbers are negative 2 and negative 4. So you multiply negative 2 with negative 4, you get positive 8. And if you add negative 2 and negative 4, you get negative 6. So I'm going to write those two in place of that negative 6. This is just going to be negative 2x and negative 4x, positive 8. Just take the commons. This is going to be x minus 2. And then we're going to take the commons again. So this is going to be negative 4, x minus 2. And then we're going to take these two things common. And so we're going to be left with x minus 2 and x minus 4. And this right over here is your x plus p and your x plus q, and you can clearly see we don't have an a over here. Now we know that the a by default is just going to be 1, but since it's not anything other than 1, they didn't specifically mention an a over here. Didn't specifically mention an a over here.